Somehow you got a better outing today than yesterday, it seemed. And what was working so well for Beam, and how special is it to watch?
Yeah, result-wise we did. I mean, the nice thing about those two guys is they're right-handed pitchers, but they kind of offer what we had last year. We had 3 really different looks with the kids that were our weekend starters, and I feel you got something similar this year too. So each day's new, and I think both teams, I may be wrong. I mean, the wind was blowing a little bit, and both pitchers were throwing well to start the day. Sunny day, but not a high run scoring game for whatever reason. There didn't seem to be as much energy into the park, at least in our dugout, as you'd like to have. But also, kind of a lot of it was just sitting there watching that guy do his thing.
What was your mindset just going back after the ninth, letting him go back there, just because he hadn't pitched junior, senior year of high school, and then
right
already at night, so he pitched before that last day?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you like is when players make the decision for you. And all I did, he got the last out, and I yelled at Frank, and I think Frank, and then I walked away. He was kind of mystified that I was yelling. Basically, I was yelling at him. Here we are, exact same situation. Obviously, like you said, he's a freshman, but sometimes guys don't give you a chance to make a decision whether you want to put him in the game or take him out or any of that stuff.
Dollander and Burns were pretty highly touted coming in. Obviously, Beam hadn't pitched it his last 2 high school years. When did you know you had something kind of this special in him? Well,
I think when we recruited him, we saw a guy that he is now, today even, a good athlete, really good kid, loves the Vols. 3-pitch mix was definitely something that at a young age he kind of already had going on. And so, durable body, good frame. So he kind of had all the makings of a weekend starter at some point. But sometimes guys make up their own timeline or their own grid there with work ethic and also presence. I think a lot of what he's got going on for him is the same as Burnsy. I've told you guys that before. They've got a different presence about them than just your average freshman.
Tony, they have a SEC team.
I mean, my first instinct, just what it says about this team, is it's a very diversified team. I mean, we were able to get it done out of the bullpen a little bit. There's starting pitching. It's so hard to get a roster to be the way you want, where you've got freshmen, senior, you got balance, in the middle there. And then some of the defensive plays we made today were outstanding. We had some huge stolen bases and some competitive at-bats that the result wasn't real good. So I think it's a well-rounded team, and that's been a work in progress for the last few years. And I feel like we had it last year, but this year maybe they got it a little bit better.
Tony, you had a chat there with Corbin afterwards. You tell us anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I run my mouth too much in these things or say silly things, kind of a personal thing. And, I want to win, but anyone who doesn't think I've got respect for the coaches that are similar to my dad, I've just kind of said it right there. They're similar to my dad. I mean, long tenure, a ton of success, does it the right way. And I'm speaking about him, and then I could go on and on too. Fortunate to just be in an unbelievable environment in Oxford and here that, again, they were built from the ground up. If you take your time and do a little history or do a little research, things literally didn't exist before guys like this and other guys in the league made it what it is today.
So you volunteered that? Like you started the conversation?
No, he did. I ain't my resume ain't good enough to be starting conversations. So he's always been very respectful to our entire staff over that way. And it's been a good relationship, as it relates to that. Again, I don't think you have a job in the SEC as a coach if you don't want to win. But the bottom line is he was very kind with his words. And I said what I thought as well. And I think when you're at each other's throats, we talk about UFC with Tony Vitello's goofy butt on the radio. It's crazy. Those guys are in the ring trying to kill each other, and then they're shaking hands. And I see it too in the NFL. Titans play. It's like, man, how are these guys trying to? But if you put it into perspective with our sport, between the lines, I mean, Drew Gilbert's an absolute maniac. But I guarantee you, Drew Gilbert has a ton of respect for anyone that competes, the way that he does in this game.
We asked you Friday about how the team responded through those final 8 innings and kept going yesterday and today. What does it say about this team to be so methodical and mature in how they kept playing the rest of the weekend?
It's surprising because they do things in the locker room and in the dugout sometimes that are not mature. But I think they've kind of put their own little formula together. Again, the roster's really balanced. You've got young kids that had a lot of success before they got here. They look to older guys who know what success is and failure within our program and in this league. And they've kind of put their own little melting pot of things together. And that's when it's fun to be a coach is, when you got talent, it's a little easier to sit back and let that play itself out. But when you got guys that are actually kind of coming up with the coaching formula or the environment you're looking for as a coach, and they're doing it on their own, it just obviously makes life easier and more pleasant.
Why'd you go to?
One team you guys are probably going to have a little bit of a target on you here. How do you think you guys have handled that?
I think to an extent they haven't been in the situation I think you're referring to, but wearing the SEC patch, yeah, it's on there, on your uniform, you kind of got a target on your chest or back at all times. And then when you're in league play, again, I say it and I think some people probably think, well, a buddy of mine joked, you're always taking the easy way out and saying you just want as many SEC wins as possible. But if you break it down and you truly ask coaches over a cup of coffee or something, that you got to scratch, claw, whatever, just scrounge together as many of them as you can because they're so powerful, whether it's RPI or just making a regional or if you want to play at home. Obviously, we all want to get to Hoover as well. So to me, everyone's got a target on their back in our league as well because a win in the league is so valuable.
Why'd you go with?
Yourself think at all with these young guys throwing the way they are? Do you let yourself at all think about what you have here for an extended period of time ahead of you?
It's the future's pretty crazy. I think you look at the dry erase board and you don't want to get caught with a blank spot at, we don't have this position or that, or we don't have guys that profile as a weekend starter. So there's certainly been a time where you look at it and say, if these guys come back or this guy improves, you have this and that. But no, I don't. I think one reason why we can shake hands at the end of the game and have respect for each other as coaches is, your life is a living hell every time you're putting on this uniform because you're worried about every little thing, and no one's more on top of details than what goes on here. But I don't know. You got to always be a little guarded as a coach, unfortunately, and hopefully a guy like Coach K can ride off into the sunset and get some peace for once. That's why you see some of those guys move to TV. Bill Cowher, that guy's a pretty good coach, but I think he knows a little easier on yourself when you're in that booth, and probably a little bit more fun too.
Tony, can you talk about our coaches? I know worry about will a team peak too early in the season, but from the outside looking in, it looks like you probably think there are a bunch of things y'all can still do better, right?
Yeah, and anyone who would bring up that theory, I would ask them to watch us bunt today, and then we could just go from there. And you could throw a bunch of other things in there. But I think we're still kind of searching for a few roles. I mean, it's kind of starting to formulate itself a little bit. You're always trying to get healthy. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs that still remain in this season. I think it'll be good when there are downs because it'll build character and it'll build lessons learned. So when you're in situations like you were last night where, the game is on the line and you got a guy like Bradley up at the plate, you feel a little bit more prepared.
You mentioned the environment earlier, seeing the crowd this weekend, the ticket prices. What can you say about the excitement and the rivalry these two programs have built over the years? Yeah,
the ticket prices were depressing. If I heard right, it was cheaper to go to the Final Four than it was to come here. So I think it speaks to our league. You've got the best stadiums in the country and the biggest crowds, but I don't think the stadiums are big enough. So if you're talking about the two teams within our state, when you bring up rivalry stuff, I think there's a rivalry within each team in our league. But the people in the state are great, and they're great sports fans too. So we need more seats in this stadium as well as ours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.